I want to first say rest in peace to Nolan Wells and all others in the same type of situation. I want to give peace, love, and blessings to Nolan Wells and his family and all of the rest of us who have been affected by crimes like these, and all crime for that matter. And I pray for our families, and I encourage everyone watching this video to do the same. I am creating this video in honor and respect of Nolan Wells and other people, like I said, who have been in the same predicament. And this video is intended to empower our people. First of all, being a Black woman with a white biological mother, I do need to address some of the erroneous mindset that some people displayed on the last video that I created, including conversations regarding race. First of all, I want to let you guys know that no one has the authority to tell me how I can identify myself, nor do you have the authority to tell me who I can speak for. I'll actually briefly tell you guys why you need to assess who you're talking to before you determine whether or not they can speak on behalf of Black people. I actually know someone who is dark-skinned who was pulled over and arrested for drinking and driving. And so they were drinking 90 proof alcohol and they were swerving, and a cop pulled him over who was white. They arrested him, yes, but there was no excessive force used, no force at all, no disrespect, no racial slurs. This person was pulled over for legitimate reasons because they were drunk off of 90 proof alcohol, as I mentioned. Yet this person tried to evade accountability by using their Blackness and the cop's whiteness as their narrative to attempt to escape the charges, claiming that the cop was racist when no racist behavior was displayed. On the other hand, I, as a woman with a Black father, have been excluded by my own white family, along with my brother as well, who's also excluded, my father, and my stepfather, who is also Black, right? My mother's family wants absolutely nothing to do with any of us, and it's because of our Blackness, and that would include me, meaning they don't want anything to do with me because of my Blackness, right? And this same person who was driving drunk and was arrested by a white police officer who did not display any racist behaviors on that day, they claimed that I should, quote, forgive my own grandmother, my white grandmother, who made some very extremely hurtful comments about white superiority and Black inferiority, or all races for that matter being inferior to white people. Granted, I know some people feel that if someone apologizes that you're supposed to forgive them, but the truth is you can say you're sorry with your mouth, which she actually didn't, but that does not mean that you have changed your mindset or your behavior. You can't apologize for the fact that you actually felt that way because you really felt that way. So, needless to say, I've been discriminated against for being Black, not only by my own family, but also by fellow white mothers at times when I lived in all white communities. The Nolan Wells incident and incidents much like it really had me reflecting on my own experiences, and being a woman who walks deeply in spirituality, God put this video and this message upon my heart. My fiance and I did some research with Microsoft Copilot, which I find to be far more empathetic in many regards than ChatGPT. I use different types of artificial intelligence for different reasons. Basically, we wanted to understand, some of the underlying mechanisms behind white male and female friend groups who have the one Black friend or the one other friend. In my case, having been not only the one biracial woman, but also the only neurodivergent woman in the group, the only woman who was not married to a white man, and the only person with extremely different views of the world who either had to be willing to put up with ridicule or disrespect when expressing those viewpoints, or had to sit in complete silence and be the odd man out. At first, any AI is going to stick to only what's proven as fact, and then they're going to give watered down explanations of the truth. And at first, they also oversimplified the psychological mechanisms at play and overemphasize something we all already know, which is that not all white people are this way. But when we forced Copilot to go past that surface and dig deeper, that's when we uncovered some things, but since Michael, my fiance, and I are the Black human beings involved in the interaction and Copilot is just a bot, it took us digging with it to uncover some of the deepest truths that Black people and other non-white people truly need to hear. Copilot stated that some white male groups can actually be sadistic, and they will take on the one Black friend to create this, quote, "we are not racist" image. It stated that they see that Black male as an object of entertainment, but they will not identify him as a human being, right? And blase, we all know that white people, or some white people anyway, have this tendency to call themselves superior. Or as my white grandma put it, the master race. Also, when you are one Black person, especially if you're neurodivergent, right, in a group of whites, you may miss subtle racial dynamics, as Copilot put it, particularly if you are outnumbered and do not have the presence of some other Black friends. Okay, so let's examine that part, about the superiority, all right? So if you look at me, you can see clearly that I'm a pretty woman. And yet, frequently, when I was in school, my looks were the subject of ridicule. My nose was too big. My forehead was too big. I looked mean. I looked stuck up. I have even been told more cruel things about my looks. And frankly, the people who said these things were not really anything more than average looking at best. And if you have been through anything similar in terms of treatment in life, what did any caring individual likely tell you? That anyone who has to point out to you that you're ugly or something's amiss about your looks, they must feel ugly themselves, and they must feel that you expose how ugly they feel because you're visibly beautiful. So think about it. If you know that you're beautiful, rich, smart, or whatever, and you truly know that, do you need to prove it to anyone? No, you don't, right? So then we can clear the record. Racist white people do not think that they are superior. They actually think that they're inferior, not because they inherently are, but because they're insecure as people, deeply, deeply insecure. They tell you themselves that they get together and have meetings to talk about Black people. So that must mean to them that Black people are pretty darn important. And no matter how much worldly power you exert to try to wipe out races of people with pestilence, drugs, alcohol, slavery, political power, and money, none of those things equate to godly power. Godly power comes from knowing your own worth and not needing to shade another's worth to make yourself feel powerful. And you guys, no matter what circumstance the world is in right now, God is the one who decides where this world goes. God is the one who allows the enemy to think they're winning, all the while building the victory in the background, behind the scenes. You do not need to manipulate yourself to be God, because if God is truly inside of you, then you already hold his power, and no one would need to be convinced either way. People will either stay away from you, or they will love you with the same love that you have for yourself. Now, we've addressed racist white people and their role, but I want to talk about Black people too. Because this morning, I watched a video about how the singer Brandy was publicly ridiculed for her appearance while battling a disease, when in fact, all of us 90s Black folks know we used to bump Brandy back in the day. And even if you didn't, it does not justify degrading or belittling someone because of their appearance, especially when they are battling something that you could not halfway manage yourself. Yes, Black people, we need to stop degrading our own people. We need to stop putting down people who are struggling mentally or physically. We need to protect our vulnerable people. And we need to uplift every single one of us. Because people who degrade someone who's struggling are no different than the slave owner and the slave owner mindset that still exists. The slave owner mindset that brainwashed and oppressed you. So how do we do that? Well, it all starts with self. Because you see, self-love and mental wellness, those two things are your greatest self-defense in this world. In a world full of racism, economic crisis, and all other forms of self-hatred projected outwardly, see, people know in theory that they need God and that they need self-love, but who's really doing it? Who's really seeking the power of God? Who really knows how to access it? Because here's an unpopular opinion. You don't need a group of friends, white, Black, anything else, to validate your worth or your impact. The opposite of racism is not inclusion. It's oneness identity. My biological fingerprint is a divine fingerprint because it was created by the Most High, a divine being. And I do not need you, them, or anyone else to like me or love me. I need to love myself every day like a daily multivitamin. That means I don't get up in the morning looking for someone to feel that I'm above or beneath. It means that I give the first hours of my day to God and myself. My gratitude, my internal dialogue, my prayer, my imagination. I focus on my own health, spiritual, physical, and mental, every single day. I focus on my own household, taking care of my needs, taking care of my partner's needs, caring for our household. Get in the bag, always checking in with myself and how I'm feeling and how I'm thinking. I'm not out here in the world seeking approval from white people or any people. And I strongly suggest that we move away from being in huge social circles where the ecosystem is based upon performing righteousness and looking righteous, 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 and l and move toward our center, which is God and our inner self, and the people who show up for us consistently in our present life right now. This is a life where we truly are righteous and living righteousness, not just performing it. You do not need to point out the flaws in others to make yourself greater. This is a trait that insecure slave owner mindset has brainwashed onto the masses, and I disown it. My only family now are people of God because I disown self-hatred and insecurity. And I fully embrace the armor of God in my life. And this is why I have removed myself from the white friend groups who othered me. And I'm willing to walk alone, not out of hatred for other people, but out of self-respect. God will align people with you who truly love you with time when you truly love yourself.